Sky's the limit, the truth is on our side. There's no time for worry, let's show the world our pride. Whether another comes up with a surprise, we all will discover where our fate will lie. On a blue wave, we rise to save the day. Only me, only you can let our hearts sail away on a blue wave.
And welcome to TruBlu Politics Podcast with your host, Karen and Anita. Hi, Anita.
Hello, everybody.
We are now currently recording episode 39, and who would have thought we would have made it this far?
I know. Do you
a
remember
year
when
later.
we started? No, it's been 2 years.
No, it's been over a year. It's
Year
been
and a
about
half.
a year and a half.
A year and a
It's
half.
been about a year and a half. And so
Yeah.
here we are, and we are super thrilled to be joined by our good friend of WCPT, Chicago, all things progressive, regular guest on Choose Views at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time with Richard Chu, Kurt Mullett, our Hoosier friend. So hello, Kurt. Welcome.
How are you guys doing? Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, really. So you're
My
a Hoosier?
pleasure.
You're a Hoosier? Like
I'm
from
a
Indiana?
Hoosier, man. Yeah,
Oh,
I live
wow.
up in Northwest Indiana near Fort Wayne, so I'm a Hoosier, born and raised here.
That's
So,
interesting. Did you like
yeah.
the movie? Did you like the movie Hoosiers?
Well, yeah, I'm a
Yeah, of
basketball
course.
fanatic. Yeah, yeah.
That's the only thing I know about Hoosiers. So
Is it?
yeah. So that's why I asked that
Well,
dumb question.
Well, we need to give you some more information about the great state of Indiana. So
Yes, and
right?
so that is perfect because you're here to
yeah.
Represent.
So we
Home of
like,
Michael Jackson, home of Cole Porter.
That's right. That's right.
Crystal Gale. So I'm from a small town that is claimed to fame as
Motown? No,
a
Motown's
small
Detroit.
town.
Motown is Detroit.
No.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
just had Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Right.
But I'm from a small town where our claim to fame is the first electrical lighted city in the world. So, and that was a light that was put in the top of our courthouse. So, yeah. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. So,
yeah,
great little
and
community.
so Kurt, I mean, of course, I became aware of your greatness when you're a regular guest of Richard Chu. And so tell us a little bit about how this all came to be.
Well, quit referring to me as greatness. Okay. I'm just a normal dude from Indiana. But I appreciate that. So I'm a political content creator. I have been doing this for a couple years, about 2.5 years. Actually, right after January 6th occurred is when I started getting real serious about it. And Richard approached me, sent me a message on Instagram one day and invited me on his show. And it started out as a 10-15-minute interview, and now it's every half hour on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Chicago time, 8 o'clock my time. And we started out having topics, but now Richard and I have created a relationship to where we can fill up 25 minutes like that because we just have a good rapport with each other. We can have a great conversation without having specific topics. So that's how I came to know about you and how this has all happened through Richard. And that's one of the things that, he always talks about, and I've taken from him too, is making connections and locking arms and building, strength within our Democratic Party. So I try to do that every chance I get, regardless of the platform.
So what is your main platform?
My main platform is Instagram. I have about 110,000 followers on Instagram. But I've also got a pretty good sized platform on Threads. Facebook, I'm starting to build it up. I was off of Facebook for about 3 or 4 years. Actually, I just walked away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And
We need
I
more
just,
Facebook, honestly, because there are a lot of people that don't do Instagram, they don't do Twitter, they don't do
right.
any of those other platforms, but everybody's on Facebook. Your grandma's on Facebook.
Right. And it's a different animal than Instagram completely.
Yeah.
The content that you find on Instagram is not. When I came over to Facebook, and some of the things that I would talk about or that I would share, people had no clue about, and I was like shocked.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things was Project 2025.
Yep.
It hardly ever. I never saw any information or anybody talking about it. And on Instagram, for a year and a half,
Yep.
a lot of us content creators were nonstop talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different world. So that's one thing I've done. My handle on social media is Hoosier Blue 63, and so I've got a private page, and then I've got my Hoosier Blue page on Facebook, and that's the one I'm starting to build up and starting to get some followers and what have you. Also getting a lot of trolls and things like that.
Oh,
So,
that comes with the territory.
yeah. But I'm from a small community in Northwest Indiana, near or Northeast Indiana, near Fort Wayne. We're about 40 minutes southwest of Fort Wayne. It's a community. We've got less than 30,000 people in our whole county. My town has about 11,000, but we're as red as the day is long. I mean, I'm an odd. I've always been a bit of an odd duck my whole life, but I'm a completely odd duck because I'm a liberal progressive Democrat. In fact, I'm a liberal socialist Democrat is truly how I believe. I align with a lot of the beliefs of Bernie Sanders and AOC and Jasmine and Maxwell Frost and
well, Jasmine Crockett. It's funny that you say that, because what's happening now is that, you know, you can be a fan of Jasmine Crockett, who is not a Democratic socialist by any means. She was a big time Biden supporter.
Right.
And you can also be a fan of Bernie Sanders and AOC. What we're fans of now is fighters, right?
Right.
That's what we want. Is people that we can see fighting for us and willing to take on this battle that we're waging against fascism.
Yeah. Progressive liberals, I mean, truly is the where I align the most.
Yeah.
So,
and how did you come to that? Did you come to that through your parents or something?
Well, you know, I was born in 1963, hence the Hoosier Blue 63. I'm one of 8 kids. I was number 7. I was brought up in a very liberal, Democratic, Catholic family. My parents were huge fans of the Kennedys. In fact, in 1968, a couple months before Bobby was assassinated, and I don't know if you remember his political train trip that he took during his campaign, but it came through my hometown. I heard about it. It came through my hometown, and I was just under the age of 5. But I have a memory of sitting on my father's shoulders, seeing Bobby at the end in the caboose talking to the crowd. And when he was assassanaugust, I remember I was old enough.
Yep.
It had a devastating effect on my family. In fact, I was born on August 28th, 1963, which is the day Martin Luther King gave his "I've Got a Dream" speech. So,
wow, you were there was destiny there.
Yeah, if you believe in that kind of thing, you know,
I do.
Well, Indiana, though, also didn't Bobby Kennedy gave that speech when Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. That was in Indiana,
exactly.
Right?
He was in Indianapolis, so the connections there have been extremely strong.
The die was cast.
He found out about it when he was on the podium giving a speech. It was.
I know. I know.
Absolutely crazy. So
wow.
But yeah, I'm number 7 out of 8. There's 5 of us left. We had 4 boys, 4 girls.
Good Catholics there.
Catholic family. I no longer practice though.
Me neither. I'm Catholic.
I'm not into religion.
Yeah.
I walked away from that. I got kicked out of CCD class when I was 15.
Good job.
So because I wanted to know. I wanted to know if Adam and Eve were created, why did they have navels?
Did you have questions? You had questions? No, they don't like the questions.
No. But you know what? In Catholic school, that's true. I got in trouble just for asking why girls couldn't be altar boys.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. But
that's not surprising to me either.
No.
That is not surprising that you got in trouble, Anita.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I've found out over my lifetime that people who lie don't want to be questioned.
That's right.
So,
questioning. I mean, you cannot question. That's honestly, that's why
yeah,
people
it's
become
fake.
Republicans,
Mhm.
and they cannot because and like they will fall for anything. And the reason why
Mhm.
they'll fall for anything is because they've been raised never to question authority, never to question anything.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
yeah,
anyway,
so I
yeah,
mean,
that's just a quick synopsis.
yeah.
I'm a feminist because my first wife and I experienced some difficulties with the birth of our daughter. In fact, we had two miscarriages,
Mm,
and then my wife at 26 weeks started having complications, and my daughter was born 9.5 weeks premature
okay.
and weighed 3 pounds 2 ounces
Oh,
at birth.
wow. Yeah.
And then 7 months later, my wife was diagnosed with cancer, and she passed away 8 months later. So
Oh
my
my
Oh, I'm
daughter's
God.
so sorry.
15 months old
You had
when
to raise
my
your daughter all by yourself then.
well, and with the help of my mother. My mom
Yeah.
was she was a great woman.
Mm,
I'm the man I am because of my mom.
Me
So,
yeah.
too.
but
I'm the woman
anyway,
I am because of my mom.
yeah,
Don't feel bad about that because I cry about it still.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Hmm.
It's hard
it's
when
it's just one of those things. I miss her
Yeah.
dearly. But anyway,
Hmm.
that's why I think evolved into who I am now because my
Hmm.
daughter's now 31 years old, and
Mhm.
Oh.
I have a wonderful wife who is just my rock and my best friend.
Hmm.
And I just believe that it's nobody's damn business what you do with yourself. I mean,
That's right.
I
Well,
don't
I'm
care what
scared.
it is, you
Well,
know.
I'm scared to death. I have a 20, gosh, she's gonna 27
Uh-huh.
year old daughter, and I'm scared to death of her ever getting pregnant here in
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah.
Do you think about that with your daughter?
I try not to.
But I mean, but listen, I don't know if she's
Yeah,
married, but
no,
honestly,
no.
it could be a death sentence here in Texas. There was a 19-year-old girl. She just had her baby shower. She was like 8.5 months pregnant,
Mm-hmm.
and she started going into labor. She went to the hospital, and everything went wrong. Everything went downhill. Her mother was begging them to do something because she needed an abortion to survive,
Mm-hmm.
and they refused. They couldn't in
Mm-hmm.
Texas. And of course, she died. She died. A 19-year-old girl. She
Yeah,
died. And that's my worst fear for my daughter
yeah.
Hmm.
because I had
Yep.
complications with my pregnancy too.
Right.
And I went into labor very early. I had to have, by C-section because I was bleeding so badly. And I had my daughter, she was only 4 pounds.
Hmm.
And she was that early too, like you were talking about your daughter.
Yeah, yeah.
But it scares the crap out of me. It really
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in
No,
Indiana, we're one of the worst states when it comes to the abortion laws. I
Like
mean,
Texas. Yes.
yeah,
yeah.
you
So
know,
it really does, for me, all of these very heady subjects and the things that we're seeing does speak to the need to make sure that the information it gets out there,
hmm
from the Democratic Party, from our representatives, from
right.
our leadership, right? So, getting back, taking it back to because Anita and I don't know if you were, aware of this, but when we first started the podcast, that's when Project 2025 first came on our radar, and we had
Mhm.
Yeah.
two women from the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism, Heidi Bayrick and Wendy Vi, on with us,
hmm
and they have been doing the work. They both work for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Great resource for people just talking about the different right wing, fascist,
Extremism groups,
extremist
white
movements
supremacists,
throughout
hmm
the
Christian
world,
nationalists. Yeah.
and then but specifically in the United States. And so they were a huge resource for us to be able
hmm
to learn. But I'm with you, at that time. And of course, I went on with Richard on Fridays, and we would talk
hmm
about that was kind of our pet project on his
Right.
show.
Yep.
And that was before,
Anybody else was
Taraji.
talking about
Yep,
it.
Taraji P. Henson came on, the
hmm
BET Awards and mentioned it. And then all of a sudden people were talking
It
about
blew
it
up.
more
Yep.
than they were, but still not, I don't think, at the levels that was required. And certainly mainstream media wasn't covering it. And then, of course,
Absolutely
during
not.
the
Yeah.
DNC, that was kind of the intro for a lot of people. But So as far
Do
as,
you remember
you're
why?
you're a content creator, and so it really does speak to the need for democratic messaging
Mhm.
and how
Right.
how we do go about doing that for right now, the moment we're in, and into the future, so that we can get factual information
Right.
out, right? So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that? And that might
Well,
be, yeah.
like I said earlier, my main platform is Instagram, and I wasn't on Facebook and some of the other platforms very heavily at all. I concentrate on Instagram. And the one thing I got to tell you about Instagram is we talk about it a lot. I downloaded the Mandate for Leadership. In
Hmm.
fact, I just looked it up the other day. I downloaded it in March of 2020 or May of 2023. I
Hmm.
downloaded it as soon as that thing came out and was
The Project
available to the public.
2025. The
Yeah.
Project 2025, the Mandate for Leadership. I
Yep.
downloaded it and I started reading it then. And it's a difficult read, so I can understand why a lot of people don't get into it, because there's a lot
Sure.
of verbiage in there that they want to
Hmm.
confuse you and they want to make it, you go away. But
Right.
there's, you two and myself and other people like us who are very familiar with Project 2025. Every time a story breaks, we can say, "Oh, well, that's on page. I've read
Yeah, I
that.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
know.
mean, we can almost recall it because
Yes.
they're completely coming out of
Hmm.
Project 2025. I mean, and Stephen
Holcomb,
Miller, you know,
Stephen, yes,
we
Stephen
know
Miller,
what
all
kind
these,
of
yeah.
person Stephen Miller is, and Tom
Hmm.
Homan, and
Yep.
Russ Vought,
Yep.
and all of these guys.
Right.
His administration is full of Project
But
2025
he didn't know anything
contributors and
about it.
authors.
He didn't know
Yeah,
anything about it. Remember?
bull.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
bull.
what stopped all the talk. The media
Yeah,
fell for that hook, line, and sinker. What is her name? From the New York Times. What's her name? Oh God.
Judith Miller?
No,
No,
not
sorry.
no, no, no. But a lot. But they were all
I don't
telling
read
us.
the Times.
No, they were all telling us that. Oh, he denied it. He doesn't know anything
Right.
about
Mhm.
it.
Well,
So
that's
you know what?
that.
Let's do
Yeah,
a fact check on Democrats. That wasn't fair that Kamala
yeah.
Harris accused him of being part of Project 2025 because he denied it.
I
That's the kind
quit.
of crap we were dealing with.
Right.
I quit watching network news and reading some of the mainstream publications back, I'd say probably when they first started picking on Joe Biden. That's
Hmm.
when I quit watching them. Okay.
Same.
Oh, I
Yep.
don't
So it's
watch them anymore.
been
Yep.
last May or so.
Hmm.
I tuned them out, and
Yeah.
I tried to get newsletters and read articles from, unbiased, uh, papers that are going to give you opinion. NPR, I love, the BBC.
Hmm.
There's other ones that I can't come to mind right now, but
No,
um,
there's still some that you can go to. I listen to
right,
Midas Touch sometimes, but a lot of times they're a little bit, I don't know, hyperbolic about certain things. Or they'll say, or their thumbnails are like disaster Trump, another disaster press conference or something like
yeah,
that. And then, they're just trying to get,
Yeah, they're trying to get
clicks.
people to look. Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
So,
I guess that is the name of the game, right? I mean,
Well,
you
I
know.
I mean, yeah, I understand what you're saying is true. That I don't really follow them too much because they are all about, oh, we've got some breaking news.
Right.
oh, I know.
Or give us a follower. We're more popular than
And
they
Joe
are more
Rogan.
Joe
about self.
Rogan, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
they're
they
more
do,
about,
let me tell you, they do serve a purpose. Let me tell you something.
yeah, they
They do a
do.
lot
They
of
do.
good investigative stuff. Like they'll break,
Mhm.
like stuff that Donald Trump puts on, and
They do.
they'll tell you, hey, you know what, those black churchgoers were bussed in or something like that, or it was all full of
Yeah,
white people. Those kind of things that they break. Or
right.
the protests outside of New York City, in New York City, how they were all like from the young Republicans, things
Hmm.
like that. They do that.
Right.
But the problem is they just they're so they try so hard to get people to click on them. And
Right.
then when you sit there and you listen to it, it's not what you thought it was. And so, and I
Right.
don't know, it just
But
doesn't.
then I wonder, because we're a little bit more sophisticated, and so I feel like, maybe that is for somebody other than us, that kind
Oh,
of.
definitely.
But I do believe that what they are doing now, because they're growing and because of, they're bigger than Joe Rogan. And I love the I've had it podcast,
the two women,
the two,
Oklahoma.
So, but what they, at least what Midas Touch is doing is they're platforming. Now they're platforming other influencers and other people that had their
Yes.
own YouTube channels, like Adam Mockler and, some others. I know that Jessica Denison was Denison.
She's not with them anymore.
She's not with them anymore, but I do like the fact that they are truly turning it into more than just the three brothers, and they're bringing other voices in there.
Aaron and I's pet peeve with all of them is that they don't have the they don't understand the historical context of the Republican Party and why they're acting the way they are. They've been a party that's been descending into madness for 40 years.
Radicalizing their base.
Yes,
right,
for a long time. And a lot of times these things, it's just, we've seen this before, like what's happening with this Iran thing, right? And
Iraq 2.0.
Exactly. And the way that they're lying about it and lying about trying to manipulate the intelligence and all this other stuff. We have seen this before. And today, when they're all coming out and saying, well, what about, you're not supporting the troops. You don't like you're bashing the troops that did something so heroic. They flew those B-2s into, enemy territory or whatever they're saying, that somehow we're bashing the troops that did that. They said the same crap about us when we were criticizing the war in Iraq. And they were and it wasn't true then, and it's not true now. Many thousands of troops would be still alive if they had listened to us.
Yes, and that's where the mainstream media gets it wrong every single time.
Every single time.
It's just,
you remember that when 9/11 occurred, George Bush, it wasn't a few months until afterwards that he stood on the USS Abraham Lincoln and called it a victory and had this, we won or some
mission accomplished.
And
mission
what was it,
accomplished.
2013 when we finally found Osama bin Laden, or 2011 and got rid of him under
and no
President
WMD.
Obama?
Right.
No
and then
WMD.
Yeah, and then 20 years war in Afghanistan, right?
Afghanistan.
And then
based on
on
lies.
cue, Andrea Mitchell is blaming Joe Biden for the messy withdrawal that Donald Trump set us up for.
That's what I mean. And they don't.
Yeah.
A lot of
see, people are when they rely on news outlets like mainstream media, they're not informed. They don't educate themselves, and that's always been a part of our society, and it always will be. What people don't understand about Afghanistan is that was Donald Trump's doing. He negotiated with the Taliban. He left Afghanistan out of the negotiation.
Right.
He released 5,000 Taliban militants that took part in the raid on the airport that killed the Americans.
And
that
one of
was
them is
his
the leader.
mess.
One of them is the leader in Afghanistan.
Right. One of them is now the leader of the Taliban. That was his mess. He created that.
I know.
But that's not what's important now, right? It's Jesus.
He set up Joe Biden, really.
Oh my God.
He finalized that deal after he lost the election.
Yeah, but that's what he does.
Yeah,
exactly.
He goes. He's such an incompetent man and such an ignorant individual.
Right.
He cannot do anything on his own. I mean, his life history proves that he's failed at everything: businesses, at marriages, at relationships. I mean, the guy's a failure.
He's managed to survive on bullshit.
That's who he is.
He's managed to survive on bullshit. If you read his book, The Art of the Deal, basically it's just a how to commit fraud. That's basically what he does.
But the border situation is the same thing. In 2017, when he started throwing a bunch of sanctions and removing policies and doing away with agreements that we had with Central American countries and South American countries, it created such horrendous living conditions for the citizens in those countries that they had no choice but to flee their countries in order to survive, because gangs and the political parties were taking over and destroying the citizens of those countries. And so where were they to turn to? They came to the U.S.
Right.
He created the mess. And then he stood back and made them kill the border deal that
I know.
the border bill in 2024 that could have solved a lot of this, just so he could initiate and move on with Project 2025's mass
Sure.
deportation of brown
but
people.
it's not just
So-
Trump. That has been going
Yeah,
on. Republicans
that's
have
who
been
he-
doing that crap. Ronald Reagan created all kinds of problems in Central
absolutely.
America,
Yeah.
and a lot of that stems
Absolutely.
from that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's what Republicans do. They are terrible at
Yeah.
governing. They're terrible at foreign policy. They're terrible at domestic policy. They're terrible at economics. They are terrible at everything. They never have any good ideas. What does that T-shirt say that Stephanie has? The Republican Party, bad ideas. What is it? Basket full of bad ideas or something like that.
Yeah.
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 That- because-
And that is so important, Anita, what you're saying is because we tend to in the media and everybody, when people talk about it, they focus so much on Trump. But it's
Mhm.
like it is completely forgetting the fact and ignoring the fact that the Republican Party has been doing this. And all he's doing is saying the quiet parts out loud. I mean, it's like he did, what was it? Sue from Rockville always says, it's like he didn't change the party, he exposed
You
them.
exposed it.
Mhm.
Look at what happened with Benghazi. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. They had like 32 hearings on Benghazi.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, we can go all the way back to Beirut, okay, with Ronald Reagan.
Right.
And, we didn't have any hearings that we had were just about, hey, how can we not have this happen again, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about bashing Ronald Reagan. It was, but that's exactly what Benghazi, Donald Trump had the same crap happen to him in
Right.
Nigeria.
Mhm.
Those 4 soldiers were ambushed and murdered, but the Republican Party, because this is what they do, they just covered that up when nobody ever talked about it.
Right.
And,
Right.
And they're
you know
allowed
what?
to. They're allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
They're
The
allowed to,
mainstream
and where are
media
the Dem-
gives them a pass. The
And where are
mainstream
the-
media, yeah.
But
We
where are the
remember the Iran
Democrats?
Contra scandal.
The Iran-Contra scandal, all of this crap. But why don't
You know?
Democrats?
I
Why
mean-
weren't Democrats screaming at the top of their lungs about this Nigeria thing?
Yeah.
Nigeria.
Let me get. Of course, I always say this. I want to preface it with this: Democrats don't have a 24/7 propaganda machine.
Right.
They don't
Right.
have billionaires throwing money at any influencer that can put two words together.
Exactly. And so this is the thing. I mean, Democrats, and I say this to my, some of my friends that are like, why aren't they messaging? Why aren't, you don't even hear about them? Well, that's because mainstream media, and to your point, Anita, they don't have a propaganda channel. They don't have the net, the media that the right does. And so it's more to do with the fact that our mainstream media, the quote unquote liberal media, is completely failed all of us, because they are completely, to say they're disingenuous is almost, a pass, for them. But, the bottom line is they should be the ones that are talking about this. But what do? They have sold the American people the myth about family values, pro-life. Anytime there's any discussion on the economy or the budget, who do they defer to? The Republicans. They always do that, and
They parrot Republican narratives.
They parrot
always,
exactly,
yeah.
and so like when. Like by default, the Republican candidates, they're the ones that they look to as the experts on financial or fiscal responsibility and balancing the budget. And the data shows completely the opposite.
No,
right?
Yes,
That we always do better under Democratic.
We always do better. And you know what? Republicans have been trying to sell us for 40 years, 50 years, since Reagan, once again, this crap, this trickle down economic bullshit that never works. We had it happen. Remember, they tried it in Kansas, used Art Laffer, the guy, they were talking about in that hearing. Yeah.
Right.
That's who their economic advisor, their top economic advisor was. It was such a disaster in Kansas. They had to start closing their schools, and Republicans were voting against it by the end of it, because they were just like, it was just a complete disaster. Look it up. The Kansas trickle down disaster.
Yeah.
And so, but the media continues to pretend that this is a viable economic theory, right? That Republicans keep doing and keeps failing, and all it does is bring us bigger deficits,
right?
And a bad economy, low GDP. It never works. And by the way, every time they tell us it's going to grow the economy, don't worry, this magical thinking. We're going to cut taxes for the billionaires and the multinational corporations, and magically that's going to grow the economy.
Right.
And it never happens.
Nope.
Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, well, they do that because it's the big corporations and money that are backing all of the news media, and they're the ones writing their checks, so they're forced to do that. So sorry about my dogs.
Oh,
Oh,
no,
don't
you're
worry about your
fine.
dog.
So,
Oh no,
My,
this is
my dogs
but
usually
see,
interrupt this.
when I first came back onto Facebook, like I was talking to you earlier about how Instagram did a really good job on Project 2025, I made a post and I had somebody attack me and said that Project 2025 was not real. And so I provided a picture and a website where you could actually go buy the book. And I said, here it is. And so they went on with it. So then I actually told the story of Project 2025, which people don't know, that the Heritage Foundation was started in 1972 or 3, I think. And the first mandate for leadership was given to Ronald Reagan.
in
Right.
78.
And then he
No,
passed
80.
it on to
No, it was
his
late
admin.
70s.
Well, I
thought
know,
it
but
was
when
late
Reagan,
70s.
Reagan
When
didn't
Reagan
come into
took office, they
yeah.
gave him a
Right.
copy of it, and he
Yeah.
gave it to all his administration.
Right.
And before Reagan's 8 years were up, it's estimated that 60% of the mandate for leadership at that time that they had written, he had accomplished and he had taken care of. So all of these things that we're talking about was the beginning of that. And this has been over a 40-year plan that the Republicans have done. And that's one thing you've got to give them credit for. They have been unified and they have been organized
Very
in their
deliberate.
destruction of the democracy and to promote white nationalism. And this whole thing is about two things. It's about white supremacy and it's about abortion. And I will believe those two things as long as I live. There are so many Christians out there that are so deeply ingrained in the thought that abortion is such an evil thing that it consumes them. They won't even, they're one issue voters. That's it.
They don't
You
really
kill
care about
babies,
abortion.
we're not
They don't.
voting for you.
There are a few,
And-
but mostly they just hate women. Let me tell
Well,
you,
yeah.
they just
Well,
want to
that's
control
part
women.
of the white supremacy
It's part of
thing.
the patriarchy.
Right.
Yeah, it's part of the white supremacy. The again thing has taken us back to colonial America, where women were possessions and had no say so, and people of color were 2/3 of an individual. So that's what they want to take us back again to. So
Well, I have to tell you, I'm just looking at this. There's they go this Project 2025 tracker. I don't know if you've ever visited that, but
Oh, yeah.
there 313 total. There are 100 done, 62 in progress. And in the top 5, Commodities Futures Trading Commission, they've accomplished 100%, USAID 100%, White House 88%, Department of State 75%, USAGM, it's the global media 67%. And then there's like 29 other agencies. It's kind of, so if people want to check it out, go to project2025.observer.
Yeah.
You know what, though, also, but we really, I guess I really want to talk about solutions, because it's true. They have done all these things to forward Project 2025, and to them it's been a very good, a big success. But the truth is, I don't think they expected it to be such a failure for the, as far as the American people, to have such a backlash.
To be so unpopular.
Yeah, it's destroying the economy. People do not like seeing their gardener being hauled away, tackled and thrown into a van by people who won't identify themselves.
Right.
Or there were nannies being arrested in parks.
Well, sure. And fathers of Marines.
Fathers of Marines.
Just posted a story this morning about this event out in Summit City, I think it is, or somewhere in California. He's been selling popsicles for 20 years on the streets, and they found his cart abandoned on a sidewalk.
Oh my
He
God.
was taken away. He was kidnapped and taken away.
These are people that are embedded in our society.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if they were to say, "Hey, let's round up all the Italians," and
what's next?
Right.
What's next?
But there's such a part
Who's
of our
next, I should say.
Yeah, and a lot of
Exactly.
these people now who voted for Donald Trump, like I was listening to this guy who runs a construction company. He's like, pissed off. He says,
Yeah.
I think I fucked up. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Because his crew is all gone, and he's having to replace them with white boys, as he calls them. And white boys can't get the job done. They're taking 4 days for
Isn't
everyone. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, they're taking 4 days when it would only taken his crew, his undocumented crew, 1 day to do these jobs.
Right.
I was telling Karen, around here, you don't see we used to see the undocumented people. They come by, like we had a hailstorm, and they would come by to do the roofing, for after a hailstorm. I haven't seen anything like that. Or there would be people like doing gardening or something like that. Where are they? And those people were contributors to our economy.
Sure. Well, what is it? Is it Nebraska that just came out and now they're asking for help?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it Nebraska? Yeah.
Yeah, it's Nebraska.
Yeah, because all of their farm workers are gone.
Being deported.
And so and they can't fill the because of the tariffs, the soybeans.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Because
it's happening all over.
Yeah.
It's happening all over. I watched a bunch of reels this morning about Florida and what's happening down there.
Yeah.
Construction.
Because the construction, and then they're showing fields of produce that are just rotting because there's nobody there to pick them. And then you've got all these Cubans and Venezuelans down there. The migration of those two countries has escalated in the past few years of like 30%.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that actually got Trump voted in the state.
Oh yeah.
And now they're crying because ICE is in there kidnapping, or whoever they are, kidnapping their countrymen. I didn't vote for this. Well, you did.
Yeah, you
just
did.
were too
You voted
ignorant
for
to
this.
understand what you were voting for, because you thought he was a tough guy and he was going to, lower the cost on your frickin' eggs and bananas. I mean, it's
or just deport the criminals. That's how stupid they are. Because
yeah, well, we found that's not the case.
Yeah, of course.
Or abortion, or force women to give birth, or they were gonna go and round up trans people. Holy shit! This is a horror show. And honestly, we couldn't do this without our loyal listeners, and love hearing from you. So please, please give us some stars and a review if you are so inclined, wherever you get this podcast. I know that we are all feeling the pain of this second felon 47 occupation. But Anita and I really, really understand the assignment, and we want to be here for all of you, our loyal listeners. Without you, we couldn't make this happen. We could not keep this running. So, TruBlu Politics is sponsored by, of course, our wonderful TruBlu crew of listeners and our supporters on Patreon. As a small startup podcast, our Patreon members help us pay the bills to keep our podcast running, and also allow us to keep investing in equipment upgrades for even better quality content in the future. We all have our day jobs. I know I have a day job, and that requires a lot of my time, but I want to be able to devote as much time to having these conversations, getting the word out, fighting the good fight against tyranny. So much of this is reliant on our community of progressives and road warriors. So when you sign up as a monthly TruBlu crew member on Patreon at even just $5, you instantly unlock our private TruBlu pod chat and full episodes a day earlier than everyone else, without ads in the middle. Upwards from there, we've made even more perks available, like having your name shouted out at the end of our show, and a personal Zoom call with me and Anita to discuss ways to overthrow convicted criminal felon 47, Elon motherfucking Musk, and the GOP. If you could please become a Patreon subscriber at any level, go to patreon.com/TruBlu. That's TruBlu Politics Podcast. We love you guys. Stay strong and stay in the fight. I mean, that's what we're looking at, so they heard something, and that's what I, always try and talk about too. It's just like, it wasn't, and I think it was a mixed bag. No, it wasn't the price of eggs for many of them. It wasn't the inflation, really. It
No.
was the racism. It was the transphobia. They ran a $200 million anti-trans campaign. Okay, we already knew what happened with Dobbs. And then there's a bunch of white ladies down in the South. No offense, Anita, not you.
Thank you.
That had the cover of the ballot initiatives to try and reinstate Roe in their states, but then they were able to go ahead and vote for Donald Trump. So they were able to vote for the racism and the misogyny
and keep their abortion rights,
and then keep their
But we have. I just wonder how do we get out of this? Okay.
Yeah. So
we talk about
guess,
messaging.
let's talk about that, because we have probably about 20 minutes here, 15, 20 minutes. So let's talk about that. What do we do?
What is the messaging that you're using, that you're applying to try to reach the most people that you can?
Right now, being in Indiana, one of our problems is that our Democratic Party in the state is fractured. We have some major problems in our state with our own party. That's one of the things I've mentioned by going to the anniversary celebration of WCPT. It was so nice to be in a situation to where I seen unity and people talking about the same thing and being on the same track and having a governor who you could stand behind and lieutenant. I mean, because that's not what it's like here in Indiana. We have a lot of problems going on, and everybody has an opinion about it. I have my own opinion about it. People think that we went too far to the left, and that's what has caused us the election. And I don't think we went far enough to the left.
Thank you.
I agree.
I think that the people that have been the gatekeepers and the established Democrats are the ones that have got us here. And Richard and I bump a little bit of heads on this because I'm a little bit more critical. And I respect what he's saying. He doesn't like to bash him. He believes we need to work, and I understand that. But damn, they're the ones that got us here. Their inadequacies, their lack of I'm going to be critical of them because of where they have put us and what they have done. That son of a bitch should have been arrested the day after Joe was inaugurated. He should have been arrested and thrown in prison for his insurrection attempt. And if Merrick Garland wasn't doing his job after 6 months, he should have been replaced with somebody that was going to be a little bit more aggressive. But because Joe is not that kind of person and our Democratic Party is not that kind of party, we are where we are at. I think with the election or the primary win of Mamdani in New York and some of the other progressives that have come to the forefront, I think you're going to start see a little bit of a change in our party because people are tired of it, and they're starting to scream and yell. So
but can I just say something? I have a problem with some of the Democrats, what you call the establishment Democrats. I'm not sure really what that means, but there are some like Chuck Schumer, and anybody that endorsed Cuomo. Right, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Karen pointed out the absurdity of that because she was one of the first to go after Al Franken. Remember that? But as far as like bashing, the problem is not the Democratic Party. The problem is the Republican Party. So when we sit here and we bash the Democratic Party, we're only hurting ourselves.
Right. Well, I think it's fair though to talk about our Democratic leadership, like Chuck Schumer and some of these people that are just completely missing the moment, not reading. And I'm going to say, like, yes, I have definitely been critical of Dick Durbin more recently, but he's definitely, I feel that he has kind of turned some stuff around a little bit recently, like since he announced that he wasn't going to run again. So I don't know if he's feeling like a little bit freer to do that. I don't know. But, I feel like we have to be very, precise in how we talk about it. Yes, I think that, and that is the difference with us. We can talk about our leadership and demand that, we have, like to your point, Anita, fighters. We want fighters. We want people,
fighters.
right? So
it's not about policy. Let me tell you
No.
something. Biden was the most progressive president in my lifetime. Democratic president. He really was. And the most progressive president since FDR. He got income inequality was shrinking. Unions were getting stronger and stronger and growing, right? He got child poverty down 40%. And yet this whole thing with Israel and Gaza blew all that up. Right? So, I'm not sure what progressives want, because they were, it seemed to me, they were looking for a reason to bash Biden, and they didn't give him any credit for getting out of Afghanistan.
Right.
They've been screaming about Afghanistan for 20 years, and he had the courage to get us out of there.
But within the Democratic leadership, like the representatives, I mean, there's really a handful, right, that were critical about Gaza, and I mean, I don't think we need to name names, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, I would say that more progressive types out, like influencers, like you listen to some of them, Anita, and then the people who they reach, they were completely misinformed about the situation there. They didn't have the correct, background. Like some of these white liberals, college-age liberals that were running around saying free Palestine and chanting from the river to the sea, they really didn't understand that, the background and the fact that, and the kind of using it very loosely about, the open air prisons, and it was like, oh my God, so.
But before that, I'm talking about before that. I am talking about before that. I listened to a lot of these progressive influencers, okay?
Right.
And they were never, like with Biden, they kind of always had some criticism of him. No matter what he did, he tried to do the student loan forgiveness thing, right? And he even did a workaround like they wanted. He was, but apparently he was, most of those loans were forgiven were from Black and brown folks first, right? And I think that was a problem. These white liberal college students or college graduates were not happy with him because it wasn't their loans being forgiven.
Yes. And why wasn't it? And that's the other thing, not having that understanding of why that didn't happen. And of course, we know why that didn't happen.
I'm very angry about all that.
There's a wide variety of how you can describe a progressive liberal. And if it sounded like I was bashing the complete Democratic Party, that's really wasn't my intent. My whole thing is that we've got a lot of problems within our own party that we have to solve first before we can ever worry about what's going on the other side. That's my whole point. I never bashed Joe Biden once. I was a strong ally of his. In fact, when it was announced that he was stepping down, I came out with a reel and I was pissed.
Me too.
And I had so many people slam me about it. And then I got on board with Kamala, and but I'm still pissed about it because I believe if he would have stayed in office, we wouldn't be in the situation we are. But evidently his health wouldn't have allowed him to do that anyway. But the thing about the Gaza thing that pisses me off, and it pisses so many people my age and our age, I guess I should say, is that, and I've had this discussion with many young liberal progressives. Okay. I'm actually part of a group in Indiana where I'm the oldest dude in the group by 25, 30 years. Okay. And where I have a problem with it is that we always talk about Gaza, but nobody wants to talk about Ukraine and the same bullshit's going on over there. And let me tell you something, Russia is a hell of a lot more threat to peace around the world and to our democracy than what Israel ever will be. Okay. And this is what pisses me off about them. And I tell them time and time again, if you are not going to give Ukraine the same amount of airtime that you do Gaza, you need to shut up about both of them, because you don't understand the situation, and you're hopping on a bandwagon because the hashtag Genocide Joe became popular to you, and you're using it. So anytime I would hear that or see that, it pissed me off. And if we don't give them equal amount of time and understand the situation in both of those wars, there's no hope for us. Okay,
Right.
we're going to continue.
Well, a lot of them didn't support Ukraine. Those same people that were screaming "Free Palestine" were like, we need to stop. We need a ceasefire in Ukraine.
Right.
Like they could just stop. They never understood, that Ukraine would just stop fighting.
And guess what? Guess what? Hashtag isn't coming out of their mouth. Hashtag Genocide Don.
Yeah, no shit.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just, and I mean, and I know, like, we had Stephanie Miller today had Representative Sean Casten from the 6th district here in Illinois. And, that guy has been taking some heat. He holds town halls, unlike his predecessor, Peter Roscom, who never held a town hall like for 18 months or whatever. And so Sean has been really a reachable and communicative representative for the 6th district here. And he's held town halls, and some of these people that showed up when Jan Schakowsky was speaking and, heckled her at a Democratic women's fundraiser in McHenry County, which is red. Okay, it's a red county, and called Richard Chu, our friend, the N-word when they were being escorted out, and he was assisting them, showing them where the door was. And then, these are the same people. These are the same people that are showing up at Sean Casten's town halls and screaming at him for the blood on his hands in regards to Gaza, and Tammy Duckworth. And, so it's so disingenuous, because it's like, maybe there's a certain faction of Americans that don't really understand it, but it's just like, how can you refer to Joe Biden as Genocide Joe, but you're not talking about Genocide Don when he made that deplorable video for, what was it? Gaza.
Gaza. I know he called it it was going to be Riviera.
Riviera. Yes. Yeah.
But
did you see the new one that has the stealth fighters in it?
No.
Bomb, 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 bomb,
oh my
bomb,
God.
Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran.
Taking out.
That's what they did.
Oldie but goodie from John McCain.
Yeah. And I hope the Beach Boys sue the hell out of him.
Oh, I doubt it. They're big Trump supporters.
But
no, are they?
Yes, they are.
Oh,
but
Beach Boys are?
Wow.
They had what's his name? The guy, the lead singer.
Brian Wilson is dead, so he's not supporting anybody.
Okay, well they have performed for the for MAGA. They performed for Trump. Wow. Yes, the Beach Boys have. Whoever replaced him. But as far as Ukraine, I think that was a great point, because 700,000 Ukrainian children have been kidnapped by Russia. Do you ever hear anything about that?
Mm-mm.
About all the people that have been bombed in Ukraine and murdered, all the civilians? No, all you ever hear about is Gaza.
The number of hospitals that have been bombed, the number of schools that have been bombed, the number of apartment buildings and residential areas that have been bombed. I mean, there truly is no difference between the two of them as far as what's actually taken place. They're just in different part of the world, and the media, for some reason, has been putting all the attention on Gaza and has not been given the Ukraine the same.
And they're white. Ukrainians are white. And I'm sorry, but some people on the left feel like, you know what, they're white. We don't have to even, we don't offer any sympathy towards those people.
But, and here's the thing, though. And, I think, can't we do both? I mean, I have every sympathy for the Palestinian people and what they've had to deal with under the rule of Hamas. But let's be honest about it, okay? You can't talk about the horrible atrocities that are happening at the, and blame it 100% on Israel, okay? When Hamas has been in power for over 18 years, have never held any elections, and the billionaires in their leadership are sitting in Qatar, living large, while the people there are living in horrible conditions. Okay.
They take the money. They steal the money and build tunnels.
So we can talk about the absolute horrors and atrocities that are happening in Gaza and feel for the Palestinian people, the women, the children, the
infants.
We can do that. But then we also the same people that are doing that, well, where is your compassion for the innocent Israelis who were at a peace conference?
I know.
Okay, no Israeli security forces were there, very suspect, Netanyahu. And then these people invade their neighborhoods, slaughter them, look them in the eyes and slaughter them, rape and kill young women, and then parade their dead
Parade them
corpses.
around.
Parade
Yep.
them around. I'm sorry. I'm a compassionate enough and fair-minded person that I can look at both of those situations and my heart absolutely breaks and bleeds.
Oh, they deny that
Okay.
even happened. They will
Well,
deny that even happened.
Right.
No one,
so
no women,
that's
no,
where you lose
is-
me. You lose me
Right.
with that. If you cannot
Right.
acknowledge all of those things.
they won't even denounce Hamas. A lot of
No.
them.
Right.
Rashida Tlaib has never
Right.
denounced Hamas.
Never. And that is my problem with, it has nothing to do with the fact that, I mean, yes, I have always had a lot of sympathy and compassion for the Palestinian people, but I also believe in a two-state solution. We are where we are. And,
Okay.
we can't go back to 67,
Yeah.
and start
Well,
fighting that.
what gets me, and
fight.
I had this conversation too, is that okay? You're sitting there talking about Genocide Joe, and you're all worried about Gaza, yet you're holding a phone that there's a genocide going on in Chad and Sudan because of
Yes.
the
Yeah.
materials being mined to make that iPhone that you're holding in your hand.
Exactly.
The hypocrisy in what people are doing right now
I
is
don't know.
ridiculous. And it's just like what you were saying, and Karen, with the Genocide Joe, and they don't talk about Don or the felon. We spent months talking about the cognitive state of mind of Joe Biden, but we don't say that about
I know.
the felon, who is a complete lunatic psychopath who hasn't made sense. When's the last time you said anything that made any sense?
Yeah, and how about the media just completely swallowing whole? He makes a statement about, complete success in Iran. We took out, they're completely obliterated.
Greatest job ever done, best president
I'm sorry,
ever,
but
the strongest military. I mean, everything the guy does is monumental.
I know. A cognitively declined Biden is, which is worse, having a seriously, completely mentally unbalanced lunatic criminal who has no allegiance to this country, or Joe Biden, who actually did a damn good job running this country.
Of course.
Absolutely.
And surrounded himself with very competent people. We've got a clown show on the other side. Criminals, thugs, freaks, and just complete radicals.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the mainstream media did this to Ronald Reagan when he was deteriorating in his last couple years in office?
They're not even allowed to talk about that. As a matter of fact, if you were, there are no books even about it.
Yeah. I mean, he's like a god to those people, and he's one of the worst freaking presidents we've ever had.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I know. It just tells you what their
mind-boggling
judgment of character.
Right. Again, it just goes back to, this is nothing new. This is who they've always been. And they're not the Patriots. We're the Patriots, know.
And they want Republicans because it's not that they think they're so much better on the economy. They think they're so much better for their economics because they're white, for white people.
Yes. That's
what the bottom line is.
Goes back to what we said earlier. This is all about white supremacy. That's what this is about. That's what it has been about. And that's what it will continue to be about.
Yeah. And until we solve racial issues, we're never going to fix the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of these problems are because of racism in this country.
Absolutely.
Whether it's we were fine, like when FDR, and so we got Social Security, and FDR got the New Deal going and all this other stuff. But you know what he wasn't dealing with? He wasn't dealing with, desegregation or civil rights or any of the things that LBJ had to take up, right? 40 years later, or whatever it was, 30 years later. So when people talk about FDR, and he did do a great job, but he wasn't dealing with the same kind of problems that really have been the bane of the United States.
It's a different world.
Yeah, it's a totally different world. So we have to understand that. And like Joe Biden, this is why I think he just doesn't get credit for what a great president he was. He had barely had a majority in the Senate. It was like 50-50. Kamala Harris gave us 51. He had a small majority in
We
the
had
House.
Kirsten Sinema and Joe
Kirsten and Joe
Manchin.
Manchin, but he had barely a majority in the House, and he
Mhm.
managed to get so much
Yep.
big legislation passed. And yet I hear from the progressives still, oh well, you know what? He just didn't do enough. What happened to Build Back Better? He should have, twisted some arms, or threatened Manchin's daughter to prosecute her. I mean, it's insanity from some of the people that on the left.
Right.
Pissed me off.
Well, and it's almost like encouraging him, like, even when the Supreme Court granted immunity and people were like, he should go and, take advantage of that. He should break the law.
That's not
And
gonna
I'm
happen.
like, that's never going to
gonna
happen.
happen.
And that is
That's
how
not
we
who he
know
is.
that the Supreme Court and the Republican Party knows that Democrats are not criminals and they do
Right.
not break laws. That's how you know, right?
Yeah.
That's why we're called
Democrat.
snowflakes, is because we have compassion and empathy, and we are not going to, come down on everybody with our hatred and be judgmental of everyone. That's why we're called snowflakes. So
because we have empathy, we have sympathy for people other than ourselves. That's what
right.
they call us.
Right.
The true snowflakes are the Republicans.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
You
right.
cannot. I mean, look how they. Oh my God. If the Dixie Chicks, said something over in London about being ashamed that George Bush was born in the United States, was from Texas. Oh my God. They have to burn all the records. That's it. They're canceling the Dixie Chicks.
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen. Bruce Springsteen said some mean things about Donald Trump, and now they hate Bruce Springsteen, or a trans person, has some Budweiser on her, her stream, right? And all of a sudden they're shooting, Kid Rock is shooting cans of Bud Light because God forbid anybody, mess with trans drinks Bud Light.
But Jason Aldean, who is in his second marriage because he cheated on his first wife, can make a video in front of a courthouse in Tennessee that was a known lynching area.
Jesus Christ. Yes. No, that's the kind of crap they do.
That's okay. There was no racial undertones with that.
Or they can have a parade. Where was that? Might have been in Indiana, where they had that parade where there was like somebody, as Kamala Harris, like walking behind them in ropes. Do you remember that? Yeah. That they do that kind of crap all the time. But oh my God, Donald Trump got a boo-boo on his ear. So we all have to bow down to him forever.
What a bunch of weirdos.
And, I tell people all the time, racism is not just about color. Okay. It covers a whole gamut of things. So, we can have JD Vance talking about people with pink hair giving everybody the finger, but have you ever looked at a MAGA crowd and MAGA people? I mean, they're cult. They're in cult. That's who they are. They're cultist.
Yeah,
okay?
They're wearing diapers. They're wearing diapers and gauze on their ear.
Pee funnels.
Just look at them. They dress themselves in head to toe with MAGA gear. They paint their bodies.
My God, I know.
They put tattoos on their forehead. I know. And they want to talk about people with pink hair.
Well, they think all Democrats have pink hair. I haven't seen any Democrats with pink hair, but I'm thinking about dyeing mine pink now. That I know it's a requirement.
Well, that's what everybody should do. Everybody should dye their hair pink now.
Sure,
but it's just.
That's so dumb. The only person I've seen with pink hair is one of their crazy evangelicals, one of those preachers. She has pink hair.
Well, and the thing of it is, whatever yucks your yum, right?
You want to dye
Who cares? Okay, it's a free country. Go for it.
Hey, how about the total freak out about Mandani winning? Oh my God, you should hear all the birtherism, all the crap. Dinesh D'Souza was like showing a picture of him. He said, and then having a picture of 9/11, putting Mandani beside 9/11. Okay, they're doing the same crap they did with Barack Obama.
But Mary Adams comes out and says socialism is not going to be good for you. Here you got this sitting mayor who's coming out making comments like that. So
he's a criminal. He's a criminal that owes his not going to jail to Donald Trump, like a lot of other criminals, including Donald Trump.
Right. And
Yep.
the 1,500 insurrectionists
And the
that he
1,500,
freed.
yes,
Yeah, terrorists that are now
Well,
probably wearing gaiters and
there's been
rounding up
many
brown
discussions
people.
about that guy's a Republican. He just ran as a Democrat because he knew a
Absolutely.
Democrat would get elected and not a Republican. So
Yeah.
Yes. Oh
But,
no, he's nuts.
Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
But Mandani, so Mandani's going to be running against Eric Adams. Is that right?
Yep. And
Yeah.
a few others. I think
and
that
this was just a primary, but
Mhm.
Well, I know
there's
it
a
was a primary.
Republican,
It's a
and I think an
Republican.
independent.
Yeah. Well, Eric Adams is running as the independent.
Is an independent,
Yeah.
but what is it? Like there's 4 or 5. I mean, there's
I
several
think there's
people.
4
Mhm.
that I know of, but who
Yeah.
knows?
That
There could be
Landell,
more.
I think his name is Landell, the one that was, arrested for helping the migrants that were being
Yeah.
deported. That guy, he's like, good riddance. He goes, good fucking riddance to Andrew Cuomo. He said it,
Mhm.
but apparently him and how do you say his name, Mandela?
Donnie.
Mandani is kind of formed a pact.
Mhm.
So his voters will go to Mandani.
Mhm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I think
It'll be interesting.
yeah, it'll be
Yeah.
very interesting. But I think the signal is that we just want fighters. And guess what? We also want to talk about, I mean, the stuff he was talking about, the pragmatic stuff, the kind of stuff that people feel every day in their lives that pisses them
Right.
off. The bus fees are too expensive. The rent is too expensive. Things like that are very important to people. I mean, that's the kind of thing they feel immediately. And Joe Biden was trying to do that
Right.
the way he could. Like he was getting rid of the fees that from
Kamala
the
Harris was trying to do
Kamala
that.
Yep.
Harris too. But I mean,
Absolutely.
actually putting it into practice, Joe Biden was doing that. And guess who
Right.
who stopped all that? Donald Trump, because he's a corporatist. What I always
Mhm.
say to these Republicans is Donald Trump is just a more stupid, more corrupt, less competent, run-of-the-mill Republican.
Mhm.
He cuts taxes for billionaires just like every other Republican, and he
Mhm.
wants to get us into stupid wars just like every other Republican.
That's right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
He is the guy that the Republican Party built, and he's taking advantage of the base that they radicalized.
Mhm.
He's
So-
Frankenstein's monster. That's
Yep.
what he is.
Exactly. So, well, listen,
Yeah.
we are coming to the end of our time.
And we didn't get to messaging. Oh well. This was we kind of winged it because Karen had some stuff, an emergency situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately.
and unfortunately, I'm
Well, I
going
don't
to
think we did too bad by just winging it. Do you?
I don't think we did either. We
great.
kept
Yeah,
the
what-
conversation going. Yeah.
I mean, I had no concerns at all. I was like, I know that we all can talk, and
Yeah. And
I knew that we
have
would
enough
fill
to
the
say.
time. But
Mhm.
Kurt, I mean, again,
Yeah.
I have to say hats off to you because
Well,
I
thank
really
you.
do enjoy hearing you on Richard's show, and just,
Same here.
the
I'll have to
voice.
listen.
Yeah,
I'll have to
yes,
listen.
you should. Yeah, I mean, because it's just it really is encouraging, and it's such a
You'll have
nice
to listen.
community. At WCPT, and it's it's kind of, it's not just the personalities that are on there. They really bring in the community. They bring community together. They bring members of the community that need to get their voices out. They amplify us. They give encouragement and inspiration. And so you are one of those voices that has
Well, hey, thank you. I appreciate that. And you as well. I mean, obviously there's reasons that he has us on there. It's just when he approached me, when I got that message and on Instagram, I was shocked. I was like, what, why does he,
Why me?
why, yeah, why does he want to talk to me? And so then I talked to him on the phone, and it was, and it just has blossomed to where it is. And I'm just, I hope you realize I'm just a simple, normal guy. I'm a radical. I don't want to say radical, but I'm a progressive liberal in a red state.
Me too. And I'm in a red state. I get it. I know how that feels. Let me ask you something real quick though.
Yeah.
Kurt, did you have any No Kings protests?
Oh yeah.
Was it last week or the week in Indiana? Now that and that kind of gives you that kind of community feeling too, that there are other people out there that are like-minded, right?
Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
I felt. Yeah, because
I've been to 6 protests since they started back in March, and I've tried to go. I went to Indianapolis a couple of times, and then I've tried to go to smaller ones. And the No Kings one, I went to over to Peru, which is a town just west of here, about 20 miles. And so I've been trying to do that just to be able to go into different communities and talk with people. And that's some of the things I do. I just, I'll go to coffee meetings and things like that just to meet with people to, just to communicate and talk to people, because it's education, informing people and letting people what goes on. Like the three of us, we know a lot about Project 2025.
Yes.
The majority of people know nothing about it. They just know Project 2025.
Right.
And when you start talking about things with them, well, I didn't know that. I didn't,
Karen gave me that Ask Me About Project 2025 shirt. You should wear those to your protest.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
also,
I wore one that said I'm not a paid actor, and then I had FU-47 on the back. So that's what I. And then I have an Obama 2028 hat that I wear.
I like that. I'm gonna have to
not that I'm for breaking the 22nd Amendment, but
hey, if it happens,
if they're talking about Trump running,
if it happens,
I'm going to talk about Obama running.
I think it's fair.
I wear it around here to piss people off.
I love it.
I walk in.
Indiana, Obama won Indiana.
Yeah, back in 2009,
2008. Yeah, he did. He won Indiana. It was a big shock. But anyway, so it could happen.
We've had total Republican control in Indiana, though. It'll be 18 out of the last 22 years.
I know, but it could happen. It could happen. Don't
say
that. It could happen. You never know. Anyway, people could be just so disgusted by Trump after he just completely destroys the economy and everything else, just like George Bush did, which is another thing that makes him a run-of-the-mill Republican. Maybe they'll turn to a Democrat. Also, I wanted to say that we do a segment on the Politics Bar, and you should listen to that if you get a chance on Fridays. On the last segment, we come on with Jody Hamilton. Do you listen to Stephanie Miller? Are you Steph head?
I do once in a while.
Okay.
I'm a dog dad, and after my wife gets off to work and everything, because she's still working, she's an HR director. I have to take care of them, and then I take care of the house and do all that kind of stuff. So I try to listen as much as I can. But
Jody's used to be the producer there, and now she just
Jody Hamilton.
Yeah, Jody Hamilton, and so she's on Tuesdays, but it's her show. Her and what's the other guy?
And Sean Pierce.
Sean Pierce, yeah. But it's it's good. And then of course our podcast. But
right.
You should come back.
Definitely.
We will, absolutely.
We'll talk about messaging.
Yes.
we
listen,
I
have no doubt that we are going to have many more conversations and tons of topics to cover. Because we are literally only 5 months in of this freaking nightmare.
Oh, we've got 3.5 years to go. Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God.
I just hope we have midterm elections. That's what
I do.
Okay. Well, you know what? We have to continue to believe that we are, because that's what
we have to.
That's our only hope.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
you. It was nice meeting you, and
hopefully
you'll be back soon. Okay.
Talking to you. Absolutely. You have a great day.
Take care.
All right.
Take care. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Bye, Hoosier. Right?
Hoosier Blue.
Hoosier Blue, yeah.
Hoosier Blue. Okay. I'll remember that.